Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. It is Saturday, so it is Erik Larsen Day. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend and hopefully I can help continue that with this review. We are looking at Spider-Man, the next issue in his last run on the title before moving on to Image Comics and Savage Dragon. This is issue 21, cover dated April 1992. As a kid, I did not have this issue. I bought this recently in the last few years. But I do remember seeing this cover on the comics rack where I used to buy at the Canex when I was a kid in Victoria, British Columbia. And thinking, you know, very naive at that point. I've only started collecting here and there. Know very little about the Marvel Universe, right? Just seeing this and wondering, no internet that I can go compare and check out. Like, this is all you saw. What the heck's happened to Spider-Man? Oh my God, you know, and not reading the story when flipping through it. You know, I thought Spider-Man all of a sudden was some sort of weird, crazy cyborg. He's got this new kind of 90s look, which was, you know, a fad, obviously, at that time. It's like, you know, almost like he kind of looks like, not Deadshot. What's his name? Deathstroke, the Terminator, right? That's kind of the look I feel like he's got here. So it was definitely eye-catching and interesting. And obviously, you know, it's not something that lasted. It's just kind of an interesting story point that Larsen worked into this, I think on purpose, just to catch our eye with this cover, and cleverly done, Mr. Larsen. It definitely worked back then. I still think this cover looks really cool. And obviously with having Deathlock there, who is kind of, you know, half man, half machine, it implies that maybe Spider-Man has moved on to that side as well. Using a lot of the RoboCop tropes in this storyline. Erik Larsen is. Obviously, RoboCop came out in, what, 1987, maybe 1988. So pretty fresh in the minds of everyone. RoboCop is a super awesome movie. So yeah, getting inspiration from that, I don't really have a problem with at all. So great cover here. These guys standing cool. And let's have a look inside. I think I've talked about Erik Larsen. This is in around the time where his house burnt down back in the 90s. And he's talked about, if I'm not mistaken, I might be getting some of the details wrong, but from last issue to this issue or in around this time, because of that, he started drawing some of the issues on smaller sized paper. I don't know if it's because he could get it done faster. I think maybe was the rationale behind that. But I feel like maybe these are some of the issues where he was drawing smaller. Not that it's less detailed, but in some instances, it's just, I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint, but it feels like it was drawn smaller, right? Like this stuff here, for some reason, feels like it might be a little bit more detailed. Had Larsen drawn it on bigger paper. I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe that's a little bit of what's happening here. If anyone has more information on that, please feel free to, you know, let me know in the comments. So credits, we got Erik Larsen, story and pictures, Chris Eliopoulos. I keep having lots of trouble saying that. And Joe Rosas on colors. So Spider-Man's been beat. Solo shows up. Apparently just for some reason he's going to blow his head off. And as we have the page turn, Solo himself gets shot at by some assailant off panel. Who is it? We don't know. I mean, could it be the guest star on the cover? Very possibly. Great Larsen shot here of our character kind of beaten and bloodied. Very simple, effective here. Foreground, background, Spider-Man laid out, and this silhouetted leg, again, keeping the mystery as to who that character is. We thought it was Deathlock, right? But no, it turns out it's this guy, Patriot X, I think his name is, or, you know, discount or replacement Super Patriot. Super Patriot was supposed to be originally the character, so Erik Larsen didn't end up using him and redesigned him somewhat to create this character here. That's why if you know of Super Patriot, there's quite a few similarities there. Larsen using the vertical panel. It's a very 90s trope. More vertical panel here. More. And that just tells me that I need to throw in some more vertical panels in my work. I really like them, and I don't think I do enough of them. And boom, the reveal of Spider-Man, all messed up and cybernetic. What's happened to me, right? So I guess when I flipped through this as a kid, even though I didn't buy the issue, you know, that was a page that clued me in that maybe there was seriously something wrong with Spider-Man. But this character, of course, clues us in that it's basically the arm is just a cast, high-tech cast to help in the healing process, and everything else is basically them just patching up his costume. So, listen, you know, I love Larsen, but I don't know if this is some sort of joke or something, but the amount of text and exposition here, I I have to think he was doing it on purpose, because it's not. I don't feel like it's a Larsen trope. He doesn't usually do this. I'd love to have an answer to this, because there's just so much text. Is he pulling a rib on someone, on Chris Claremont or on Peter David or one of these other writers or something? Because it's just not something I see, and it seems to be pretty much restricted to these 2 pages here, thankfully. But man, who would want to read all this, right? Honestly. If it is just on purpose and not any kind of ironic thing, then you kind of hit the mark there, Mr. Larsen. But it's just not something I see him repeat anywhere else. I kind of like this shot of Patriot X, without all his accoutrements and costume. Just that cool, clear RoboCop inspiration here for sure. Dum Dum Dugan's around for some reason. Super cool shot of Cyborg Spider-Man here. More vertical panels. We are approaching the 90s. I love Larsen's inking on himself. Most artists tend to be their own best inkers. Larsen is no exception. And I like that when he inks himself, the artwork tends to be just a little sketchier, grittier, but it just moves more, right? It's more dynamic. Yeah, a lot of talking in this issue. A lot of exposition, I guess, right? I mean, tell me that's not a cool looking Spider-Man, at least for a while. So, something interesting happened here, right? This page, and I'll use that to segue into talking about advertisements and comics, kind of, split as I was going through, and I was like, oh no. And then I kind of opened it up, and I'm like, oh wow, 2 more ads. And I said, well, if that's another ad, should I just take this and throw it out? I don't care about the ads. I don't really care much about the value of the comic. I feel like just because of that collector side in us, I'm going to leave it in. But I'm thinking of just, completely throwing that out there, because it's completely useless. And one of the things that really annoys me about these Marvel comics from this period is the advertisements, during the story. Just like on TV, I guess, right? During an episode of something you're watching. But yeah, it's just, even back then, it truly annoyed me. And I know for some issues, I'm not talking about this one specifically, but it would lead to weird page turns, and the artist intended the page to be on the right, but it was on the left, and it messed with the reading flow and stuff. So here, I kind of realized, looking at this, I'm like, this is basically Image Spider-Man. If you take out the ads, that's what I really enjoyed, honestly, about a lot of those Image comics, is they kept the ads to the back of the comic. They didn't interrupt the story flow, which I think was, at that time, it might seem like a small detail, but honestly, just story flow wise and visually and stuff, it just worked way more, right? And I'm looking at these 2 pages, and right away taking that 4 pages of ads out just makes this spread here much cooler, much more open, and just much more Image style. Obviously, it's a very action-packed sequence with lots of big shots, but again, he's got a splash here with an insert panel, so there's still some storytelling going on. Even this is kind of a half splash with this broken up. Larsen's layouts are always excellent. Super cool Spider-Man shot here. I like this clever use of the, what is going on there? There's like 2 panels ripped in half. Okay. I'm not quite sure if this works that well, but it seems like Spider-Man's traveling from this panel through into this panel. So here he is with the Doc Ock arms in that panel, and here he is with Deathlock in this. Again, it's basically just a vertical panel with a really broken up kind of patterned border for this, exaggerating stuff, almost, bit of perspective thrown in there, but not sure how effective it is. It's a little unclear, but the fact that he tried something like that, I think is, commendable. Just a little confusing. I like this here because I find it, if you look closely, you can probably see a lot of Erik Larsen's influences. So in here, I kind of see 3 or 4 artistic references as far as the backgrounds go and the textures and stuff. So some of it, like this kind of arm thingy here in the foreground, reminds me of Frank Miller on Ronin, right? Those kind of textures. Maybe some of this too, a little bit, but mixed in to here, and more so here, I would say, is some Geiger, right? Some Aliens kind of looking textures, right? The movie, and not general Aliens or if there's such a thing, but specifically the Aliens movies, right? Down here, I'm almost getting a John Byrne technology feel, obviously thrown in with some Jack Kirby, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Cleverly mixed together. He makes it his own and stuff, but I mean, I think I'm not too far off with some of those influences on the textures and the look that he's given to some of these backgrounds here. Like even these little bits here, these little sections here that totally remind me of Ronin and Frank Miller. Rarely see that kind of storytelling, those sized panels there, so that's interesting. Good sequence. Very dynamic shot here. He's clever at knowing when to just do a few lines for like speed and motion and when to do a lot, like some of the backgrounds like here, right? This could like look really weird and not work, but I don't know. He just has a way with it. I think it looks really good and it works. Works for me anyways. Is this a recycled shot? I feel like I've talked about this shot here before from like his last issue or the issue prior. Am I wrong? I feel like I've seen that panel before in this run. And since he's known to recycle stuff like that, we'll talk about it at some point when we get to one of those pages. But he recycles layouts and stuff sometimes. Humorously, right? Not in any kind of a lazy way. But yeah, maybe I should go back and have a look. We'll see. If anyone knows or anyone wants to go back and have a look, let me know. See if you can find that exact panel. I really feel like I've already commented on this specific panel. Unless it's some weird deja vu I'm having. And in French, that would be pronounced déjà vu. Forget who this character is, but he shows up all of a sudden. Larsen draws him well. Looks cool. Some more dynamic stuff. Like, again, the use of just a few speed lines here. I think that works really well. I would have a tendency of wanting to do all of them when I guess you don't have to. Another great shot of Spider-Man. Once again, just like before, popping out of the panel, moving into other panels. I mean, maybe it works a little bit better here. It's a little clearer, I would say. Now, there's some sort of alien drop-off kind of thing going on here. I'm not quite sure exactly. But that is a cool looking spaceship and very economical on the artistic side of things, you know, where this is probably fairly quick to draw and it looks very impressive and just the silhouette, all this out, you know, bit of a Frank Miller vibe going there. And eventually makes his way home to kind of pass out, and Mary Jane obviously worried about her husband and what's happened to him. And they leave us on this cliffhanger until next issue. We see some more guest stars: Ghost Rider, Hulk, Deathlock, Solo, and Sleepwalker. Sleepwalker's a weird one. Maybe he's thrown in there because Marvel's trying to push that series at that point. I don't, or have never heard of Erik Larsen being a huge Sleepwalker fan. Maybe we'll find out at some point that he is. But there you have it. That is the issue. Sweet. Spider-Man issue 21. If you have any comments, answers some of the questions I've asked during this show, please let me know in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps out and keeps the videos coming to you if you enjoy this content. So thank you very much, everybody who's watching, and have yourselves an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.